Over time, we've asked more and more of fewer executives. As publicly funded organizations have flattened their structures and shifted a bigger share of total spending to frontline services, executive layers have shrunk. Combined with decades of efficiency improvements that tend to target enabling functions in executive roles, our leadership structures are relatively thinner and more fragile than ever, especially in the back office. The more thinly we spread our executives, the more we need every leader to operate at peak performance all the time just to keep the wheels turning. This makes our leadership layers and our systems brittle. When everything is going more or less according to plan, we're fine. But even relatively small bumps can cause major disruptions when there's not enough capacity and reserve to take on a new challenge without dropping something else. When leadership layers are resourced for risk fluctuations within a typical range, problems can magnify quickly when there's a temporary spike in our risk profile or a temporary dip in leadership capability. Suddenly, there's not enough executive capacity or confidence to go around. Minor issues can escalate quickly, and the distraction of dealing with them can open up new cracks. Hitting a few snags in quick succession without time to recover or recharge can overwhelm the system as we spiral from crisis to crisis, never quite able to get back on track. There are lots of perfectly understandable reasons a leadership team can find themselves in this position. Maybe the leadership bench just isn't deep enough to tackle a new challenge, like a major crisis, a novel problem, or a sudden shift in our authorizing environment. Maybe there are a few gaps on the field with natural turnover and renewal, leaving a few temporary vacancies or less experienced leaders who are still growing into their roles. Even experienced leaders can struggle to support several teams who happen to be facing unusual difficulty or demands at the same time. These aren't individual professional failures. They're predictable consequences of running lean. When systems are operating at or close to capacity under normal conditions, then any change in those conditions can easily tip the system and the individuals into overload. The leadership team in this situation isn't the problem, but it does have a problem that can get worse very easily and very quickly. They need to smooth out a few bumps, just for a little while. They need a temporary uplift of performance around them, with a bit more of the work in a few more of their teams to be done better, with a bit less personal energy and input from them. They need the kind of performance from everyone that they expect from their very best people who are probably overdue for their next promotion. They need a few more people to produce higher quality work, spot risks earlier, filter issues better, drive outcomes harder, and help others to lift their game. They need teams with normal distributions of talent and experience to perform like all-stars, just for a little while. If you're seeing warning signs that colleagues are struggling to catch their breath, consider your options to release some of the pressure. If you can defer or redistribute risk internally to smooth out some bumps, then now is the time to do it. If not, another option is to mobilize targeted external support from experienced senior practitioners, not to take over, but to help take some of the strain. This isn't about adding more willing hands by outsourcing whole projects or scaling to meet demand spikes. It's about adding more cool heads to help rebalance your risk profile to match your leadership profile. The right kind of external support at the right level bolsters your reserves of capability and confidence, work quality, risk awareness, issue filtering, and reassuring executive presence. Practical experience, having done similar work in similar circumstances, often many times before, can reduce risk and the anxiety levels of everyone involved. Influencing skills, engaging, persuading, and uplifting the performance of others. Trusted advice, having another experienced leader to test ideas with, especially one who's invested solely in your success, can be a huge boost to a tired executive's capability and confidence. Singular focus. External sources of support are free of the business-as-usual demands and distractions that can make it hard for stretched executives to support each other and their teams internally. Backstopping executives by temporarily de-risking part of their portfolio can give a thinly spread leadership layer the time and space it needs to regroup or grow to prepare for the next challenge and the next. The future of public value consulting is less about surge capacity than surge protection. In environments where back-office risk buffers are thinner than ever, sometimes you need a safety valve, not to replace your own people, but to protect them from blowing a fuse.